Have you heard the stories of immigrants coming to America with just a few dollars in their pockets? Those kind of stories make me mad. Because for me and my wife, it was a 2-year-long process and thousands of dollars just for her to get the opportunity to come and live in America. It's not that poor immigrant stories aren't true, but the changing reality of the world is making it much, much more difficult to be poor and legally immigrate to the United States. So, as another year has gone by, I want to once again celebrate my wife's birthday. Last year, I made a video reviewing where she works, Boba Queen Tea. As her visa is currently pending to be extended to the 10-year green card, I want to spend a little bit of time reflecting on the various processes that we've had to go through so that she could immigrate to the United States. This is Roller Coasters of Thailand. My wife and I met using the dating app OkCupid, which, since I'm not super social, seemed like a good way for me to meet people. But I'm kind of surprised that Jiroporn was on there since she's very social and has a lot more friends than I do. After talking for a bit, we decided to get serious, which meant that we had to figure out how we were going to live together. Me going to Thailand isn't a problem. Americans get 30 days or more of visa exempt status in the country. And I even easily got the Thai marriage visa so that I could stay there longer. I got this after only being married for less than 2 months. Though the Thai marriage visa does not include work authorization, it does help if one wants to find a job in Thailand. While visiting Thailand, I was able to see and experience a country similar and very different than my own. Especially with Jiroporn's guidance through Surin and Korat, we were able to meet many different people to help us whenever we needed something. The fact that one can just ask people at the driver's license office or immigration office for assistance is just kind of mind-blowing, since no one is going to help you out with paperwork back here in the United States. Isan people seem more friendly as well, and just generally willing to help and support each other, though this trait does tend to blend over to most Thais that I've met. Coming from an American society that is increasingly individual and polarized, it's just nice to be able to see that a country can be set up in a different way. And it can work. As great as America prides itself at being, the ability to find low-cost housing and services in Thailand allows many poor individuals to live a quality though modest life, whereas similar counterparts in the United States would significantly struggle, especially if one was seeking to gain assets to pass on to their children, as my in-laws have done with their farm for my wife and her brother. But as immigration is said to be a large talking point in politics going forward, I have to admit, as George W. Bush did, that our immigration system is broken. Jiroporn and I got married 19 days after meeting face-to-face because we knew the wait time for a marriage visa to the United States would be 1 to 2 years, and the whole process took us about 16 months, plus additional months for Jiroporn to wait to wrap things up in Thailand and then fly over here. But the reality of this process is that it was relatively simple, and only took such a long time because of how slow the U.S. federal government is at processing simple documents. So, what steps did we have to take? First, we had to get married. There is a 90-day fiancé visa to the U.S., but the wait time for approval is very similar to the marriage visa, so we chose to go ahead and get married in Thailand, as I had to travel there to meet Jiroporn face-to-face either way. Getting married as a foreigner in Thailand is a little bit complicated, as there are multiple different offices that one would have to visit if you were to do it on your own. So we went ahead and hired a law firm, Siam Legal, to help us with this process. Though pricey at over $1,000 plus government fees, the consensus seems to be this is the best path, unless you feel confident navigating the documents yourself, which Jiropon especially was not. I wanted to make sure our marriage certificate was also solid, as well as make sure we had official English translations in case any issues came up in the overall immigration process. When it came to applying for the petition and the U.S. visa itself, we did not hire a law firm to assist. This can be pricey in the $1,000 to $5,000 range for a lawyer to help file all of the documents. And it will not increase the overall processing time. Since I know English well enough, I was able to hunt down the various documents that we needed, and one can now simply submit scans of all the documents online. Though, if one did not have a strong command of English, reading through all the various instructions would be very, very difficult, and a lawyer would likely be required. The first process is the petition for a family relative, which can be a spouse or any other closely related relative. This required paying $656 and giving documentation of our relationship and proof of a relationship, as well as basic documents that proved my identity. As a newly married couple, the hardest part was providing a large number of documents to prove we were in a bona fide relationship. Just because many of the things they suggest, such as a joint bank account or joint liabilities, weren't something we had while living in separate countries. For a non-native English speaker, navigating all these documents and requirements could be difficult, though it was no more difficult than, say, gathering various documents to go to the DMV or somewhere else within the US. It was just a couple more documents, really. Then the waiting game began. I submitted the petition in late April, and we did not hear back from UCIS until the following May. So just to process our documents and approve the petition took 12 months. For a spouse, a visa number is automatically given. But if one applies for a different relative, they would be stuck at this point until one becomes available, which for countries that max out their quotas each year could mean a significant wait of anywhere between 2 to 20 years, depending on the category and country. India currently has the highest wait time for immigration to the United States, and an average of over 8 years because of failed quotas. Then, Jiropon had to apply for the actual visa. This was only about $500 and mainly involved giving the exact same documents that we already gave for the petition, which seems redundant and relatively inefficient. The exceptions were that I had to provide proof of income stating that I earned more than the federal poverty line. Normally, a tax return would work for this, but I had to provide my W-2s as well, since Jiropon and I filed jointly in the previous tax year. Yes, Jiropon was paying income taxes in America before she was actually allowed to come here as an immigrant. Jiropon also had to get a police report showing any past criminal activity in Thailand. This actually proved slightly difficult for her to get, not because she had a record or anything, but just because the process was consolidated in Bangkok, and she didn't live in Bangkok. So she had to pay a company to help get that document for us, and it took about 3 weeks since we weren't prepared to go ahead and do that process quickly. Then Jiropon had to go down to the U.S. Embassy in Bangkok for her visa interview. The largest hurdle in this was having to go to an approved doctor to get a medical exam, especially as these were only located in Bangkok. So Jiropon needed to make extra time on her travel plans to see the right doctor, make sure there was enough time in between then and her interview that all the forms and medical info got processed right, and then go to her interview with the embassy. Since Jiropon is fluent enough in English and Thai, the interview wasn't too difficult for her, as it seemed it was more just about checking that everything was good with her documents. Or at least that's what she told me. The doctors did give her medical notes that the process explicitly said to hold on to and give to the customs agent when she made it to America. But the customs agents just told Jiropon that they didn't need it when she got here and to go ahead and throw them away. The final process involved getting Jiropon over and settled into the United States. This involved, of course, buying a plane ticket for around $700. And besides having to say goodbye to her family and everything she's known in Thailand, the process of adjusting to the United States just isn't super easy. Since she couldn't bring her truck with her, she also had to buy a car when she got here, which, given the current prices of cars, wasn't cheap. We went ahead and waited about 2.5 months after she got here to go ahead and get her a new car. And we were looking well before that, but it was tough to find a decent, cheap used car nowadays. It ended up getting an old Honda Civic for about $4,000. But since the title was signed wrong, we had to still get a bonded title, so likely we well overpaid for the car. It did need some maintenance in the $1,000 to $2,000 range, but otherwise has worked well for the small amount of driving the Jiropon does. She also had to get her Social Security card in the mail after she arrived. This does not occur immediately, so there could be up to a 6-week delay before an immigrant gets it, though companies are required to hire individuals without a Social Security card, since it cannot be required as a document during the hiring process. I'm skeptical that many low-wage jobs would and will pass over someone who doesn't provide a Social Security number on an application, though the visa stamp on a passport can be used instead of the Social Security card as the document to prove work authorization. She was able to get a few jobs about a month after arriving, so if she had bills to pay, not immediate. She worked as a cook at Pizza Hut and got into the substitute system for a local school district, though that did require paying for a company to conduct a degree equivalent for a bachelor's degree, since she went to a foreign, non-American university. Then she went ahead and worked at Cold Stone for about 6 months, which was a really good environment as the owners seemed nice and supportive, before getting her a job as the general manager at Boba Queen Tea. She also had to get a driver's license. She went and got an international driving permit before leaving Thailand so that she could practice and drive in the US once she arrived. But the process of getting a US license was still something needed to help normalize her, especially since a driver's license is the equivalent of a Thai ID card, and some companies and places may default to requiring one, even though again, they likely would have to accept her Thai passport. Her permanent resident card also came in the mail a few weeks after she arrived. I don't remember this being a difficult process. As with her Social Security card, it came automatically. But again, it did just take time to physically get it. All told, this process was long and expensive, with us having to spend close to $50,000 as a couple, though a lot of that was only indirectly related to being an immigrant. We had to pay off Jiropon's debt in Thailand, about $12,000 in mortgages on farmland that was required to be paid off before she moved, as it was linked to her job as a teacher, plus various costs, such as the dowry and wedding costs, about $12,000, and lawyers, about $3,000, for getting married. This price tag does include me taking 2 trips to Thailand, with plane tickets being around $1,000 to $2,000 round trip. Since Jiropon was making around negative $500 a month after expenses when I went over to Thailand the first time, I had to support her some as well so that she could take care of herself instead of needing to rely on the communal money of her family. Still, it took a while for Jiropon to get situated and start making money. And if she would have had to do things like try to find housing on her own once she got to the United States, it would have likely been an even more difficult process. Since most visa petitions to the U.S. are for family relatives, a vast majority of these would be able to stay with the petitioning relative, at least at first. Since we were married for less than 2 years when Zero Point arrived in the United States in late December of 2023, so a year and 8 months after we were officially married, she could have waited until it was 2 years to avoid this process, as her visa had a 6-month window for her to arrive, but we wanted her to get over here and settled. She had to file an adjustment of status in October to get the full 10 years that are normally granted to visa holders. This required filling out a similar form to the initial visa application and paying another visa processing fee of $700, then waiting for it to be approved to secure life here in the United States. We filed this form in October as it has to be within 3 months of the initial visa expiring, and the application is currently pending with USCIS processing the form, with the current estimated wait time for adjustment of status being around 28 months. Despite making $11 an hour plus tip at her job, Zero Point has been able to save up a good amount of money over the course of her 2 years in the United States, with having $10,000 each in her HSA account, stock investment portfolio, and savings account. And she was able to do all that while still sending money back to her parents so that they can be taken care of. It's not easy being a modern-day immigrant to the United States, but with hard work and determination, it is still very possible to start accessing the American dream. Overall, the current process of immigrating to the United States of America is long and expensive, though some of the expenses we encountered were only indirectly related to the immigration process itself. The process is likely even more difficult for those with limited English skills who cannot easily navigate the process by themselves. This is Zero Point's story, and it is describing the family-based immigration system, which is by far the most common form of U.S. immigration. If you want to move to America without a sponsor, I can only imagine that it would be near impossible, without years of waiting and thousands of dollars to spend. I do hope this reflection on the past 4 years of Zero Point and I's life is useful and interesting to you, as sharing her story is something close to my heart, because truthfully, this immigration system needs to change for America to be a better country. If you like this video, most of my other videos are different, as they're reviews of roller coasters and theme parks, particularly the ones in Thailand. But feel free to check those out as well. And, as always, Raccoon Tira Crop.
Thank you. Wow, so beautiful cake. I like pink. Thank you so much. ขอบคุณค่ะ Thank you